Brits are leaning toward leaving the EU. A historic conference in Jerusalem wants to bring Jews and non-Jews together, and the left blames Christians for the massacre in Orlando. This is SkyWatchTV for Tuesday, June 14th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, a twist in an already twisted story. Multiple witnesses have come forward claiming that gunman Omar Mateen, who killed 49 people, wounded 53 others at a gay dance club in Orlando Sunday morning, was himself gay. Survivors of the attack say Mateen was a regular at the club over the last 3 years, and even his ex-wife, who filed for divorce after he became abusive, says she believes he was gay. Other witnesses said they know for a fact that Mateen regularly used gay dating apps. Now, this complicates the narrative for the progressive pundits who really want to blame this on conservative Christians. This is a hate crime that is committed against LGBT people by a gay Muslim registered Democrat, and yet there are those who are twisting logic into knots in order to blame this on conservative Christians. As I've said before, being a liberal means never having to worry about cognitive dissonance. Now, according to eyewitness accounts, another disturbing piece of the story, there was more than one attacker at Pulse Sunday morning. One eyewitness told reporters that a second man was trying to hold the doors closed so people couldn't escape the club.
And try to escape. And the area was very, very narrow. It was very hard to get through, but we kept on pushing and trying to get, as many people as we could to safety. However, the gunshot started, a lot of people were trampled, and there was a guy there that was trying to prevent the door, hold the door closed so that we didn't exit, and he would...
Janelle?
You notice the man was cut off as soon as he mentioned a second attacker. And in spite of that, WFTV television in Orlando reported Tuesday morning that police there expect to arrest a suspected accomplice in the attack on the club, possibly as early as Wednesday. Now, contrary to public statements, Omar Mateen's father, Sadiq Mir Mateen, who says he doesn't know where his son got these crazy ideas, would regularly pray with his son at a small mosque in Fort Pierce, Florida. And the imam at the mosque, contacted by reporters, claims he didn't know Omar Mateen. But he had no explanation when reporters asked how he could not know the son of Sadiq Mir Mateen, who is the second official listed on the charter for the mosque, the number 2 man, essentially. The imam just hung up on the reporter. And yet the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security still say they're pretty sure that Omar Mateen was self-radicalized online. Now, another disturbing aspect of this story is the fact that Omar Mateen, who I mentioned yesterday, was an employee of the world's largest private security company, G4S. Is that G4S has a contract with the Department of Homeland Security, valued at about $238 million, to provide security for America's nuclear power plants, about 90% of them anyway. So the question is, how many of America's nuclear power plants are being guarded by men who were vetted as thoroughly as G4S vetted Omar Mateen? Law enforcement sources in Florida have identified an imam named Abu Tauba as Omar Mateen's mentor. Abu Tauba, better known as, at least known to his childhood friends as Marcus Dwayne Robertson, is a former U.S. Marine, bank robber, gang member, one-time bodyguard for notorious terrorist leader, the blind Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman. He runs an online Islamic seminary, says that Muslim men should wear modest clothing at all times because 8 out of 10 Americans were sexually molested in childhood, and it's part of our evil plan, Americans, to destroy the family. Robertson aggressively preaches against non-believers and especially against homosexuals, who he says are worthy of the death penalty. Now, bear in mind that is not extreme Islam, it is not hijacked Islam, it is not online radicalization, it is not ISIS law. The death penalty for homosexuality is Islamic law. And it is a belief that is shared by many imams characterized by the U.S. government as moderate. Another story related to Orlando. Internationally recognized Torah code expert Rabbi Meditayu Glazerson published a video Sunday night pointing out codes that he's discovered that tie together elements of the terror attack in Orlando. 6 related codes, all found in the book of Genesis, include the Hebrew word tevach, which means massacre, a reference to Orlando, and the Hebrew letters for the current Hebrew year, 5776, which corresponds to the year that ends in September. He also found the Hebrew date of the event, the 6th day of the month Sivan, which corresponds to June 12th, the date of the massacre in Orlando. And in the center of the table is the code for the religion of Ishmael, which of course is Islam. And to the left of that is the code for Daesh, which is the transliteration of the Arabic acronym for the Islamic State. You can see the interviews that we've done with filmmaker Richard Shaw about the Torah codes, Torah Code Into Darkness, and even an interview with Richard and Rabbi Glazerson on the SkyWatchTV channels on Roku and YouTube, and now also on Vimeo. More about that later. A conference taking place in Jerusalem this week hopes to bring together Jews and non-Jews as sons of Jacob. It's a group called the Commonwealth of Yisrael, holding its second international reconciliation conference. The group's gathering is based on the prophecy found in Ezekiel 37, beginning at verse 15, where the Lord tells Ezekiel to take 2 sticks, write Judah on one, write Joseph on the other, and then bind the 2 sticks together that they become 1 stick in Ezekiel's hands. And this is a prophecy that God will eventually rejoin the tribes of Judah and the tribes represented by Ephraim, Joseph, the northern and southern tribes that split in the wake of Solomon. It is a noble goal, but the tribes representing Ephraim, Joseph, are, in the minds of the group here, non-Jews, Gentiles. The basic elements of the group are to bring together Jews and Gentiles under a certain set of shared beliefs, including love and worship of the God of Israel. That's good. Love and respect for the nation of Israel, the land of Israel, and defending the rights of Jews to live in the land of Israel. All statements with which we Christians can agree. But there is one that's just a bit problematic, and that is accepting the principles of Torah, like Shabbat, Sabbath, and feast days in one's personal life. Now, there's no problem with keeping the feasts if that helps bring you to a better understanding of God and His will in your life. But just remember that Jesus is our high priest now as Christians, and He came from the tribe of Judah. And as the book of Hebrews tells us, since there was a change in the priesthood, there is necessarily a change in the law. We are no longer obligated to keep the feast days. And here's the other thing. The Commonwealth of Israel rejects sharing the gospel, proselytizing the Jews. So as Christians, how can we truly embrace our brothers and sisters in Israel and declare up front that we will not share the hope we have in Christ Jesus with them? We love our brothers and sisters in Israel, and we understand that without them and without the law, there would be no salvation, because Jesus fulfilled the law and then offered Himself up as a sacrifice on our behalf. But because He is now our high priest, we are no longer under the ceremonies encompassed in the law given to Moses. And as Jesus said, there is no one who comes to the Father except through Him. And as Christians, we must share that good news. Another story from Israel. Mystical rabbi says he's received another message direct from heaven. Rabbi Amram Vaknin of Ashdod, who's become rather well known for receiving these messages, led a prayer gathering last week at the cave of Elijah in Haifa. Now, his spokesman said the rabbi was praying to Elijah to ask God for mercy on the Jewish people. There's been a wave of violence against Jews over the last 6 months or so. Witnesses said the rabbi was called back into the cave by voices from heaven, and they confirm hearing 3 distinct voices. Rabbi Vaknin said he was told that the wave of violence against Jews was to bring the Jewish people to repentance. And he said specifically to do 2 mitzvot, or good deeds, to honor their fathers and mothers, and to keep the laws of family purity as spelled out in chapter 15 of the book of Leviticus. And without real tshuva, and I'm not pronouncing that correctly, forgive me, or repentance, Messiah will not come. Now again, as Christians, we understand that Jesus' return is not subject to how we behave here on earth. No man knows the day or the hour of his return, and there is nothing that you and I can do to change the day or hour of Messiah's return. And one more story, the ban on members of Knesset, which of course is the legislature in Israel, the ban on members of Knesset visiting the Temple Mount is being lifted 8 months after it was imposed in response to the wave of violence there. MKs will be allowed back on the Temple Mount again. Rabbi Yehuda Glick, who was recently appointed to a seat in the Knesset and is an activist for equal rights on the Temple Mount, says he hopes that MKs will not use visits to the Mount as a platform to incite more violence. Voters in the UK are just over a week away from deciding whether or not they're going to remain in the European Union. Recent polls suggest that undecided voters, or previously undecided voters, are breaking towards a leave vote. A new poll by The Guardian shows that leave is ahead of stay by about 6 points. Rupert Murdoch's newspaper, The Sun, has publicly endorsed a leave vote, encouraging voters to set themselves free from a dictatorial Brussels, the seat of the EU government. Now, globalists in Europe are freaking out. European Council President Donald Tusk said Britain's exit from the EU could start the process of destruction of not only the EU, but of Western political civilization. My goodness. And finally, a new analysis of unemployment figures here in the United States. Unemployment and labor force participation shows that actual unemployment levels are twice as high as what we're being told. Of course, that's no surprise to anyone who's paying attention and actually works for a living. The real unemployment rate, after an analysis by economists for a leading brokerage and investment group, found that if the participation rate in the labor force, the number of adults actually working, or the percentage of adults working, had remained the same as it was prior to the global financial meltdown in 2008, the unemployment rate would be 9.6%, not the 4.7% that is the official number. In other words, at some point, for the purpose of statistics, the Bureau of Labor Statistics just stops counting people who aren't working as unemployed. And by reducing the labor force participation rate and then basing the unemployment rate on that number, they can come up with the 4.7% figure, which sounds pretty good. Proof that my dad was very wise when he said, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. Again, that special offer that through SkyWatchTV store for the new book by Tom Horn and Cris Putnam, The Final Roman Emperor, the Islamic Antichrist, and the Vatican's Last Crusade, continues. It could end at any day. We got in a new shipment of books to add to the package, over $200 worth of products when you order the book for $19.95 plus shipping and handling. Don't wait, because that deal could end at any time. Again, the book by Tom Horn and Cris Putnam, the latest in their series of investigative reports following up Petrus Romanus, Exo Vaticana, and On the Path of the Immortals, available only through the SkyWatchTV store, online at skywatchtvstore.com. This week on SkyWatch TV, a very important interview. Opal Singleton, the president and CEO of MillionKids.org, explains how 24/7 access to the internet is placing your child at risk because they're taking their phones to bed with them. They've got access to the web all night long, and that is giving predators access to your child that you don't even know about. Potentially, that is. She explains the problem, gives some advice on what you can do about it, and you'll see that program tonight, 4 different places, including Coast to Coast on the Christian Television Network. Tomorrow, Coast to Coast on the Cornerstone Network at 2:30 p.m. Central Time, and then again Saturday, the Victory Television Network in Arkansas and around Memphis, and WCLF-TV in the Tampa-St. Petersburg area. And of course, the program is available for you to view now at your convenience, on demand. The SkyWatch TV channel on Roku, on YouTube, and now on Vimeo. You can find it all of those places available on demand, as well as a second interview, a SkyWatch TV web exclusive with Opal Singleton, where she shares the 4 new technologies that are making things much, much easier for predators to get to your child. Those interviews available exclusively at SkyWatchTV.com and the SkyWatch TV channels on Roku, YouTube, and Vimeo. We depend on your support to get the message out, and in the month of June, our thank you for your support of any amount. 2 books just in time for Father's Day: The Fisherman's Guide to Life and The Man in the Mirror, Solving the Problems Men Face. We'll send those to you for your donation of any amount, U.S. and Canada only, please. But for more information and to donate to support the work we're doing, log on to skywatchtv.com/donate. And of course, you can help us in a major way just by sharing us through social media. Those little buttons that say like or share or subscribe. Click those, and that helps us get the word out to the world. And of course, if you have comments or questions for me or for SkyWatch TV, please send those to dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. And thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV. You can host the biggest prophecy conference of 2016 in your living room. Of course, I'm talking about the Rocky Mountain International Prophecy Conference, July 15th through the 17th. You can bring all 26 experts on the Bible, geopolitics, prophecy, and archaeology into your living room over the internet via live video stream. 40 presentations in all from speakers like L.A. Marzulli, Avi Lipkin, Cris Putnam, Stan Deyo, Dr. Randall Price, filmmaker Timothy Mahoney, best-selling author Joel Richardson, Joseph Farah of WorldNet Daily, and many more. 40 in all in crystal clear HD video, and all presentations archived for 6 weeks after the conference. You can go back and watch again. Again, how about that? You can host the biggest conference of the year in your home. For information and to sign up, log on to prophecywatchers.com. Brits are leaning toward leaving the EU. The historic conference in Jerusalem wants to bring Jews and non-Jews together, and the left blames Christians for the massacre in Orlando. This is SkyWatch TV for Tuesday, June 14th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, a twist in an already twisted story. Multiple witnesses have come forward claiming that gunman Omar Mateen, who killed 49 people, wounded 53 others at a gay dance club in Orlando Sunday morning, was himself gay. Survivors of the attack say Mateen was a regular at the club over the last 3 years, and even his ex-wife, who filed for divorce after he became abusive, says she believes he was gay. Other witnesses said they know for a fact that Mateen regularly used gay dating apps. Now, this complicates the narrative for the progressive pundits who really want to blame this on conservative Christians. This is a hate crime that is committed against LGBT people by possibly as early as Wednesday. Now, contrary to public statements, Omar Mateen's father, Sadiq Mir Mateen, who says he doesn't know where his son got these crazy ideas, would regularly pray with his son at a small mosque in Fort Pierce, Florida. And the imam at the mosque, contacted by reporters, claims he didn't know Omar Mateen. But he had no explanation when reporters asked how he could not know the son of Sadiq Mir Mateen, who is the second official listed on the charter for the mosque. The number 2 man, essentially.
And the area was very, very narrow. It was very hard to get through, but we kept on pushing and trying to get, as many people as we could to safety. However, the gunshots started, a lot of people were trampled, and there was a guy there that was trying to prevent the door, hold the door closed so that we didn't exit, and he would
Janelle?
You notice the man was cut off as soon as he mentioned a second attacker. And in spite of that, WFTV television in Orlando reported Tuesday morning that police there expect to arrest a suspected accomplice in the attack on the club. A gay Muslim, registered Democrat, and yet there are those who are twisting logic into knots in order to blame this on conservative Christians. As I've said before, being a liberal means never having to worry about cognitive dissonance. Now, according to eyewitness accounts, another disturbing piece of the story, there was more than one attacker at Pulse Sunday morning. One eyewitness told reporters that a second man was trying to hold the doors closed so people couldn't escape the club.
And like try to